tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So, welcome everyone to another Wednesday evening Clear Mountain Dhamma Reflections. This evening we'll continue our month's theme of the 3 characteristics, and for the past 2 weeks we've been going over the first 2 characteristics. That is the characteristic of anicca, or impermanence. The Buddha said that all things, internal and external, are impermanent. That's the first characteristic. The second characteristic is dukkha. There's an element of unsatisfactoriness in the personal experience, and an element of constant churning or friction in the external world of things. And the third characteristic, which we'll be looking into this evening, is anatta, which is not self. And I thought that a nice way to explore this characteristic, which is probably the easiest to misunderstood, perhaps the most difficult to actually feel and experience, is to actually take us into a meditative appreciation of this, or at least a meditative inquiry of this aspect of anatta. And as we have been doing, we've been exploring the book Buddha Dhamma by P.A. Payutto. That's this book here, very thick book. And the section that we'll be going over tonight is a mention of 6 scriptural explanations of anatta. It's on page 126 of the 3 characteristics chapter, the 3rd chapter, in the section on anatta, on not self. And P.A. Payutto, the author, goes into 6 different words which are used to explain anatta, not self. And what we'll try to do here this evening is to get an internal feel for those 6 attributes, or 6 characteristics of not self. So this will be both a scriptural meditation and a internal, very meditative exploration. So to begin with, what I'd like to ask, if people are willing to explore, is what we can call the cloud body. So what I mean by this is a first-person, interoceptive, or feeling from the inside appreciation of the whole body. So many teachers, Ajahn Jeff, Ajahn Jayasaro, Bhante Nalio, will recommend taking your whole body as your meditation object. So from the soles of the feet, you can wiggle your toes, you're actually feeling them, to the top of your head, and everything in between, feeling this whole body internally. But what the cloud body, what we're suggesting by that, is actually even a bit broader than just our physical felt sense of the body, but even the extremity of the body, in terms of our felt sense of where skin or body becomes air. So when you feel the body internally, and you can do this, initially it's perhaps most easy to appreciate if you have your eyes closed. But with your eyes closed, if you try to find the limits of the skin, you'll find this liminal, or both internal and external, neither internal nor external, kind of in-between cloud-like feeling around the body. It's not a clear, we don't have a hard shell of the skin when we feel the body from the inside. So that's what we're calling the cloud body, and it's an interesting place to meditate from because it's broad. So you can do it at any time of the day. You can do it with your eyes open because it's so broad. The mind wanders off, and you can really just return to any internal appreciation of this felt sense of the body, this cloud body. But the bigger we can appreciate it, the better. So knowing the whole body, the whole felt sense of the body in its this vague form that it feels like from the inside, this almost misty, or the lines are blurred between what's internal and external when we feel the body from the inside this way. And it's interesting because when we feel the body this way, when we know the body in this aspect, we can actually appreciate all 5 of the khanda, all 5 of the aggregates. These are the aspects which the Buddha kind of broke down the person into. You can feel form. I can feel the whole body from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. I can feel feeling, the second aggregate, so pleasant, painful, and neutral. Feel those through the whole body. Pleasant, painful, pleasant feelings here, maybe some irritation here, maybe some hotness over here, or the touch of cloth over here. You can experience perception from this cloud body, the shift of perception, what is inside, what is outside. All of that it's quite yet liminal, or really on the razor's edge. You could say it's internal or it's external. You experience formations, specifically the formation or sankhara, the 4th aggregate of sati, or mindfulness. This is an application of mind. We're paying attention to this blurry felt internal sense of the body. And then consciousness, that's what we're knowing it from. So with this base of the cloud body, we can jump into our exploration of the anatta. So the first aspect, or the first way that the Buddha talked about not self, or that it's explained in the commentaries and in various texts, is that it is asamiko, that there is no owner. So a interesting and useful way to explore these from this embodied, felt, like matrix, you could even almost call it, is to ask questions. So with each of these explorations, we'll have a different question word. So this is our first exploration, asamiko. This is who. So who is the owner? Sami is the Sanskrit and Pali word for an owner, whereas this body, this mind, this feeling, all of the thoughts in the body, the consciousness, who is the owner of this? So feeling the body from the inside, and you can just drop this question into your awareness of the experience. Like, who is the owner of this? And what would it even mean to have an owner? Can I really say that I'm the owner of my body in an ultimate sense? Do I really own my feelings? If I did, I think that I would just get rid of all the painful ones and just keep all the pleasant ones. I would just relinquish my ownership of negative feelings, but that's not how it works. So who is the owner? And this is asking questions like this is a good way to explore anatta, because if you take it from a doctrinal stance of the Buddha saying, or if you're not totally down with whatever the Buddha said, somebody tells you the Buddha said everything is not self, you might just be able to point to so many things like that doesn't make sense for this reason. I feel the self. I've always known I'm Kovilo, or I'm whatever. I'm a man, I'm a monk. All these labels that we have, but what is the ownership of these things? The second question that we can drop into our pool of this cloud body, or this, even you can think of an oceanic body, this body which just feels like ripples, just feels like current, just different densities of current. And you can ask the second question, which is what control do we have? And the word that we're looking at here is avasavat tanato. So vasa is power or control. And what's being pointed to here is that there's a lack of control over all of this body and mind. Can we really control as we, feeling whole body, feeling sensations, perceptions, knowing it? Am I really in control of it? If I was in control of it, would I allow for pain again? Yeah. If I had full control, I would never experience pain. I would just say, knees don't hurt. Being a monk, wanting to be a monk for the rest of my life, I would say, if I was in control, I would say, hair on the top of my head, never grow again. Just stop growing. If I had control of my perceptions, I would say, never perceive that another person is the cause of my suffering. If I was in control of my consciousness, I would keep my consciousness big all the time. I would just set that on lock and just keep this broad, spacious consciousness all the time. But consciousness is not really under my control, and neither are any of the other aggregates or the sense bases, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. None of them, I don't have full control of them. My hearing is getting bad, and this is what happens when a body gets older. Your eyesight starts going. We don't have ultimate control of our senses, and you can feel them in this way and look at them. What control do I really have? And just dropping that pebble into this ocean of awareness of the body. The third question that we can look at is where is the center of the body? The Pali concept that this is being based on is sunyata or sunyato, that which is empty. A elaboration of this concept of emptiness, sunyata, is there is no atasara. Sara is like the heartwood of a tree, the essence of a tree, the core, the pith, the center, really. And there's no central self. Feeling this, there's nothing. Is it in the brain? Well, no, it's not in the brain. I can feel my body from my hand or from my stomach. Is the center in the heart? That's even there are some Abhidhamma texts, Abhidhamma commentaries, which suggest that the heart is located, the chitta is located in our actual heart organ. I mean, certainly biologically, there's no anatomist or any doctor, any scientist who's ever found an essential soul or anything bound up like in some, blood part or, in some vein or artery of the heart. It's not there. And similarly, our feeling, our internal felt sense of the heart, just not a center. It's empty. So where is the center? If there was a self, I would suspect that there would be a center. I'd be able to find the pith. I would be able to find my heartwood. If at center, if at core, I was just a manifestation of loving kindness all the time, then why or how could I feel aversion when aversion comes up? So where is the center? And when you're practicing this cloud body, again, whether you have your eyes open, your eyes closed, whether you're doing this in the midst of daily life or in the middle of a meditation sit, a longer formal meditation session, just like perfuming consciousness with this question. And where is the center? if there was a self, as I feel, I feel like I've got a self, but where exactly is that self? I can't find it in the body. Certainly can't find it in feeling. Feeling is just constantly, just take a very gross feeling, which you can experience on the palms of your hand. There's no center. Even if you point to a particular spot on your hand or anywhere on your body, and you try to feel that spot, there's no center. It's just the feeling is one of evanescence, a feeling of like a shower, a shimmering. It's a feeling of shimmering, and you can't point to a center. And this is certainly true even on an anatomical level. You go to the physics of the body, and certainly in terms of the atoms of our body, there's much more empty space, and that's the literal meaning of sunyata, emptiness. There's more emptiness than there is solidity. There's more space around the nucleus of an atom than there is nucleus. So, and even you point, okay, so in the nucleus, in this one cell in my heart or in my brain, if you're going to posit that, then you can even pierce through a nucleus and see all the different subatomic, sub-subatomic particles that are involved there. And but just, that's a bit philosophical. For the most part, we can't actually feel that small, but this constant vibration, the vibratory nature of our hands and our skin, is almost a metaphor for the vibratory nature of atoms. And you can think of it in that sense. So yeah, where is the center? Just drop that question in. Our next question is when. So when is the self? The Pali that this is being derived from is yatha paccaya pavatito. So pavatita is just, things move along. And what do they move along to? Yatha paccaya. Paccaya are conditions, causes and conditions. Yatha, as. So just as causes and conditions roll along, that's how we experience our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental formations, and our consciousness. So this shimmering, like interoceptive field of awareness that we're tapping into, we can ask, if there was an eternal self somewhere in here, then we would suspect that there is no when. So the question when points to a temporal existence of things, which means a beginning and an end. There's a beginning and an end of things. And if something has a cause and a condition, then it's not eternal, then it is temporal. So when is the self? When I can, just feeling the body, considering the body was certainly born. And there was a time before September 13th, 1982, when there was no covilo, there was no little baby me kind of wandering around on the outside of a person's body. Similarly with all of you, there's a beginning and there'll be an end. The body passes away. Similarly with feelings and the mental, all the mental characteristics are even more evanescent, even more transient, and they're even more temporal in the sense that we can feel them. So you can certainly feel this, in any moment of the shimmering is implying arising, passing away. This constant humming of our skin, this cloud. It's almost as if there's like a thunderstorm in this felt, embodied presence. Just constant movement. And if you sit for anywhere longer than an hour or anywhere longer than you're used to, you'll see this more and more, the arising and passing away of feeling. Certainly perceptions change. And if there were a permanent self, one would suspect that there wouldn't be all of these temporal pointers. So when is the self? Dropping that into consciousness. Next question is, why do we take this as a whole? The Pali is Suddha Sankhara Punjato. Punjato is a mass. It's a synonym for khanda, or aggregate. So this body and this mind are an aggregate. Suddha, which is pure, it's purely an aggregate or a heap or a conglomeration of sankhara, of conditioned things. So we're put together by parts, totally. There's no whole. And when you bring your attention to the body from the top of the head, or at least from the top of the cloud, from the top of the this whirring, sensational nature at the top of the head, down to the base of the body, the base of the feet. We call this is my whole body, but certainly the body is a conglomeration of parts. It's just put together from things. You can talk about it in terms of anatomical parts, the arms and legs and head and nose and eyes. You can talk about it in terms of system, the nervous systems, skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, etc. You can talk about it in terms of physics, as we had mentioned. We've got the electrons and neutrons and protons and gluons and quarks and whatever, and you could talk about it in a chemical sense. We've got oxygen and carbon, and but from the felt sense, it's just totally put together. And if there was a self, a self would imply just a uniformity, a wholeness of this, and you can't find it in the physicality. So in the rupa, the first khanda, is there a wholeness of sensations or vedana, of feelings? No, and you can feel that. Of perceptions, of sanya. It's not a whole, it's just perceptions arising, perceptions passing away, and compiled. Even our perceptions especially are just a pile-up, a pile-on of words and concepts which are based on memory and sights and sounds and smells and tastes, and it's all just put together and glommed. This is a good word which Ajahn Jeff uses, glom together. And it's almost, the word means, as you would guess, it's like basically silly putty, just different things glued together or amalgamed, come together in what we feel to be this heap of body and perceptions, but they're just made up of all sorts of different things. And even consciousness is also put together from, our state of mind, our ability to appreciate different things. If we were blind or if we were deaf, our perception, our consciousness of the visual field, of the auditory field, would be very different. And again, see if you can feel that and drop this question: why do we take this as a whole? Just letting that reverberate. It's as if you ring a bell with the question: why do I take anything here in this body and mind? Why do I take it as a whole? And just let that ring. The final question which we'll be investigating as we feel this kinesthetic, this blurry body, this cloud body. Our last question is, how could a permanent self exist? The Pali is atta patikepato. So patikepato means the opposite, or in opposition to atta. Everything that we experience, the flow of body, the flow of feelings, of perceptions, of mental formations, of consciousness, that flow is in itself a contradiction of permanence. how could a permanent self exist? If there was anything that was permanent, it would be, I guess, maybe like a simile is, it'd be like Thor's hammer. Yeah. Thor's hammer can basically just crush through anything, you know, and that's, if the body were self, then yeah, if the body was a permanent and whole thing, then you would assume it would just be able to cut space and cut physicality and just crush through anything, and nothing could stop it. The idea of a permanent self, certainly on the level of form, just is, it breaks physics. And on the level of feeling, similarly, because that's based on the body, it's based on biology, it's based on chemical elements and physics. And perceptions, mental formations, consciousness are similarly, how could we experience any change in any of these if there was permanence? So just dropping this question into our pool, our cool pool of the body, knowing the cloud body, and asking, how could a permanent self exist in this felt appreciation? So yeah, that was a big tour. And just to recap, so these are 6 scriptural meditative inquiries into anatta, or not self, from Payuto's Buddha Dhamma, in the scriptural explanation of anatta. And we were practicing from cloud body and feeling who is the owner, asamikato, asking these questions. If the mind is ready to ask questions, if the mind is quiet, you can throw any of these questions in there, and just to shake things up, because really most of us, most of the time, are operating from a position of self. And when we take that position, we're implying an other. And when we have self and other, we can use it skillfully, but we can also use it very unskillfully. So learning how not to be addicted and attached to having to posit a self is what these questions are looking at. So who is the owner? What control do we have? Asavatanato. Where is the center of this body? When is the self? What are the causes and conditions of it? Why do we take this as a whole? And how could a permanent self exist? Who, what, where, when, why, and how? So I hope everyone was able to get something out of that. And yeah, now we can open things up to questions, and people can type in questions in the chat on YouTube, and I believe possibly also even into Facebook, and we can explore this more together. It's good to see so many regulars, people who we also meet on our Zoom sessions. So every Wednesday after these YouTube sessions, we'll go to Zoom and have a more interactive conversation. And yeah, it's a great way to spend Wednesday evenings. So yeah, these 6 attributes, or these 6 aspects of anatta, I had never seen this list before. Payutta does an amazing job throughout Buddha Dhamma of really synthesizing and pulling together disparate aspects and different manifestations of a concept that appear throughout the canon. So as many people know, the Pali Canon is quite vast. You know, you've got, if you have a bookshelf that's about this big, so it's a bit bigger than my head, and you had maybe 8 shelves of that, then that would be the Pali Canon, usually about 40 or 42 volumes. So thousands of pages, and it's not always, the Buddha didn't always organize his thought didn't always pull together everything he ever said on feeling. The Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses, really does that. It's called the connected discourses because it pulls different things together. So like there's a category on feeling, there's a category or a Samyutta on teachings to devas, teachings to bhikkhunis, to nuns, teachings to monks, to Brahmins, teachings on the sixth sense field, on the Eightfold Path, etc. But what P.A. Payutto does is just bring these things together. So he's found these 6 different aspects and pulled them into one place. And I think it's quite useful because, some of this on one level, it might, when you read it, it might feel like theory, but each one of these really is just, it can be a key kind of unlocking, some things which we might not otherwise understand. And anatta is certainly one of those things. So just a reflection, seeing myself as a cloud body brought tears to my eyes and to my heart. Yeah, that's beautiful. I actually had the same experience this morning of, actually tearing up at the felt sense of this. So the perception and the felt sense. So, and tears can be a manifestation of piti or of joy or even rapture. Our next question is, does the Pali Canon refer to the cloud body? Thank you. It does not. It does not. I think there are suttas which speak about clouds, using clouds as metaphors. And certainly in the Mahayana canon and the Tibetan canon, you see this simile of, they have a slightly different formulation, but basically like the sky, the blue sky being Buddha nature, or we could think of it as just a certain type of consciousness, and then clouds being like the passing form, feeling, perception, cognition, and sense consciousness. So it's a good question. I actually was just kind of creating the term. I think I have heard Tibetan teachers perhaps use something similar. But for me, it's just trying to name what it feels like from the inside when you open your mind up a bit, to the limits of, or to the perceived limits. What are the limits of this game? What are the limits of what I can feel outwardly? And it feels more like a cloud than a shell or a peanut or a tennis ball. I don't feel the body as if I was a ping pong ball. I can't reach the huge limit. It seems like if mind was enclosed inside the body, wouldn't I be able to like touch the limits of the outer skin or something? Couldn't I feel that? But it doesn't feel like that. It's like a ping pong ball made of cloud, basically. The more I feel it, I don't want to stay in this world. I hope that's coming from a healthy and happy place in terms of not wanting to continue in samsara, and not coming from some place of thinking about any kind of wanting to end this body, because we're with it for the rest of our lives. So having a healthy relationship with the body is a good thing. But that's how devas are talked about, is basically living in the clouds. Actually, there's a whole Sanyutta called the Valaka Sutta, which is all about cloud devas. I think it's number like 28 or 38 or something. The cloud devas. And the Buddha doesn't exactly describe what these beings are, but maybe it's devas who live in a cloud body. So next question is, when I consider when is the body, I think of the self that arises from dependent origination. It is not permanent, but does not arise from conditions. and we can be both held by it and hold it too. Oops. Yeah, and just a correction. It should be when is self. So when I consider when is the self, I think of a self that arises from dependent origination. It is not permanent, but does arise from conditions, and we can be both held by it and hold to it. Yeah, that's a great and healthy way, in a balanced way, of course, to look at this. And yeah, I don't think that I would recommend this cloud body meditation, or really exploring certainly disembodied types of meditations to I don't at all think that the person who's asking this question is in this category, but to feel disembodied, the mind can go in that direction, but if one doesn't have like a healthy ego, basically, then it can feel very unsettling. So, but I think connecting it, melding it with the body, does help keep things balanced, and kind of, as you're saying here, Mary, this, there's the element of, being both held by it and holding on to it, and trying to do both of those as skillfully as possible. And paying on when is the self, seeing where, if it did exist, where might it manifest right now? So that when kind of bleeds into where. Yeah, thank you. Thinking of kindness of the Buddha brings tears to me. Yeah, I feel the same way. And I'll be interested. Maybe for our Zoom session, we can talk more about this cloud body. Great. So maybe this is Ajahn Nisabho who's put a link here to the Valahika Samyutta on cloud devas. Thank you. If that's Ajahn Nisabho. But the experiencing the body in this way, like feeling the seemingly boundless nature while embodied, it's a great meditative place to start from. And you can bring many different meditation objects into it. There's this reflection right here about both the Buddha and kindness, and the kindness of the Buddha. So from this cloud body, one can also practice either buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha, or metta bhavana, so practice of metta. And this pool, this wave field, this this experiential, perceptual, cognitive consciousness field, which feels like shimmering light, it's a beautiful place from which to practice metta and to experience and conceive of the Buddha as well, and to have that be inspiring. I appreciate that. And I'll be curious if this description of the cloud body makes sense to people. I think it's a combination of a number of different teachers' recommendations for meditation. So we've got the whole body practice, again recommended by many great Thai forest ajahns. Ajahn Mahabua was famous for saying that you could just take this whole body as the inner felt sense of it as your playground, and just play in this whole body experience, knowing the whole body. We can do that. So that has a precedence. In this kind of playing with the seeming barriers, or the seeming outlines of the felt sense of the body, has a precedence in Dzogchen meditation, where you're really trying to look out and look in at the same time, and really drop awareness from behind the eyes. So from this kind of cognitive brain-based self that we feel like we're operating from a lot of the time, down lower, and then to experiment with knowing inside and outside of the body. And similarly, in the Shurangama Sutra, a Mahayana text, there are some fascinating meditative exercises of, it's phrased as the Buddha talking with Ananda, and the Buddha asking him, where is the mind? And Ananda kind of coming with all these propositions of, oh, the mind is inside the body, and the Buddha giving a good rebuttal for why that couldn't be the case. Okay, the mind is outside the body. Okay, the mind is in between. Okay, the mind is inside the eyeballs. Okay, the mind is both inside and outside the body. So there's precedence there. There's also precedence in the Satipatthana Sutta. So in what's called the refrain, we've got the Buddha talking about knowing the body internally and knowing the body externally, knowing the body both internally and externally, and the same with feelings, the mind, and dhammas. So this liminal body could be another name for it, because it's right at this intersection of self and world, body and air, etc. So reflection. So when I see in this world, I meant in this samsara where everything is passing away, nothing is solid enough to hold on to. Yeah, very true. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Wandana. Yeah, and there's certainly many places where in the Pali Canon the Buddha would recommend for monastics and for lay people who were coming from a mature place, coming from a solid and a healthy place, to reflect on just that, the danger of samsara, that nothing seems substantial, and everything is just crumbling away. This is, last week, someone had brought up a question about investigative or analytical meditations. And in the Tibetan tradition, the Lam Rim, which is perhaps the most analytical, semi-canonical text that people practice with, that is, it starts off with analytical or thought, thinking about samsara, thinking about the dangers of samsara and the dangers of being reborn. So, and if people are coming from a belief in other realms, in rebirth, then that's a smart teaching to pay attention to. It fits into the whole perspective of the Buddha of, that this is, from this perspective, could be a multi-life practice. And this human life, we've got it pretty good, but there are other realms. There's animal realms. And I've got some family members, I think they're the ones who bring it up, but they'll say, oh yeah, if I was to get reborn, or they kind of ask the question over dinner or something while I'm sitting there not having dinner, because I'm a monk and I don't eat dinner, but over dinner, So what would you be if you had to be reborn? And people going around giving answers, which, as a monk who kind of, believes in rebirth, like, I don't know, do you really, people saying, I want to be a dog, I want to be a turtle. Like, really? I mean, it might be okay if you were reborn as a dog in America in a wealthy family, but do you want to be reborn as a dog think about it before you, kind of make more intentions in that direction. But so I think that we'll call that an evening, at least for YouTube, and we'll switch over to Zoom now. So it's been great seeing everyone, and we'll be back again next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, Ajahn Nisabho and I both will actually be having a conversation together. So those are always fun. And Ajahn Nisabho will be live at St. Mark's as usual. And you can, of course, if you're in Seattle, always offer alms to Ajahn Nisabho in the mornings from about 7:05 to 7:40 at Pike's Place Market outside of La Pionnière Bakery. So wish everybody well and hopefully see people on Zoom. You can find the link in at our website, clearmountainmonastery.org, and just go to the calendar and then you'll find today and then click on the Zoom link. So take care, everybody. It's great talking and reflecting on Dhamma with all of you.